Hello, this is Yummy Pajama Man, and today we're going to learn about the if and else statement in Python. So as usual, I'm going to write out the code, and I'll try to explain as I go along. So we're going to type out a function. So we're going to call our function main parentheses colon. We've learned this before, so this is just going to be a recap for you guys. So make sure you have the def, name of the function, parentheses, and then the colon, so that way the program knows you're now going into the block of code. So now we're in the block of code. We're going to use a local variable red, an assignment operator, and then have value 50. Now we're going to do something new. We're going to use the if statement or clause. So we're going to use the keyword if. So let's type out if red is greater than 20 colon, press enter. We're going to do print parentheses. You know what the print does. We'll do single quote. We'll do block executes here, put a period here, and then I think that's it. So we'll get out the if block, and now we're going to do print parentheses single quote, or you can do double quote, or actually we'll do single quote outside, because I'm going to use single quotes in here. If I'll fix that, block, and we'll change this to a double quote, as you can see, because now I have single quotes inside, so I want to use a double quote out here in order to highlight everything, because I'm using a single quote in here. And that's it. So we've defined, we're defining the function, right? We've learned about that. We're defining the function. Now we want to call it after we define it in memory. So we want to call the main function, call it by typing in the name of the function, parentheses, whatever goes in the parentheses. We don't pass anything to the parentheses because we didn't do it up here. So that's it. So we've defined our function here, and then in the block, this is the block, we define the function within the block, and then we call the function by writing out the name, parentheses. Okay, and let's see if it runs. I'll explain in a little bit. Okay, so block executes outside if block, so it works. So let's go back in here, and I did this on purpose, which I'll explain later. So what's new for you guys is the if clause. So this whole thing right here is called the if clause, and then this right here is called the expression. So this expression right here that I highlighted, it's going to return either a true or false. So what will this expression return? Red is greater than 20. Well, red is 50, so 50 is greater than 20. If 50 is greater than 20, run this block of code, which actually I'll put multiple spaces so you'll see. Run this block of code right here. This is a block of code, okay, under the if clause, okay? And since this expression right here returns true, it's going to run this block of code right here. And after it runs the block of code, it'll go back and run the program, and then it'll go down to the print statement and then print outside if block. Okay, this is also a block under the defining the main function right here, because you're defining it first before you call it. So this whole thing under the main is a block. This right here under the if is also a block. Okay, it's a block within a block. I did that on purpose just to show you that you can do a block within a block here. I could also, let's see, allows to have more than one passive execution. So this is the if clause. We can also use else if I get there eventually. So in essence, this is the if clause. So let me read this. Allows to have more than one passive execution. So if this actually returns false, so if we did like less than, so if red is less than 20, go to the block. But since this expression is false because 50 is not less than 20, so it won't run this block of code. It'll continue on with the program. So we do save, run module, it'll only print out outside if block, because it won't print out this block of code because it didn't evaluate, this expression didn't evaluate to true. Okay. And so yeah, and then this is outside the if block. I did this on purpose, so you'll see this is outside the if block. I can do other stuff too, like, you know, just to give it more stuff. We can do like or maybe we can do this. Do input and what is your name? I think this will work as well. Or maybe not. I don't remember. Let's see if this will work. Oh no, it won't work. Because this is false. Because that's right. Okay. So if we do red greater than 20, we go file, save. We're doing you know, some examples. So we're going to do an example. What is your name? My name is Yummy. And then it prints out Yummy because in the input, it stops the program once it reaches here. So it'll go here, here. Since this evaluates to true, it'll run the block of code. So it'll print block executes here. It'll go to the innermost function, what is your name, and then I have to type something out, and whatever I typed in here will go to the print function here, and then it'll print it out. I don't know if I went over that or not, but yeah, so now you know. And then print outside if block, so it'll print outside if block. So that is just the if clause right here, if clause. So what this if clause is, it's called a decision structure. So it's a decision structure executes a set of statements, like this one right here, set of statements, only under certain circumstances. So this expression right here has to evaluate the true in order to execute this block of statements. So now that I said that, like, you know, 5 times, we can go on. And then everything else is called a sequence statement. Okay, sequence. It goes down the program as it runs. And once it reaches here, it decides whether or not this expression is true or false. If this is false, we change this back to false, so 50 less than 20, it'll return false here. So if false, it won't run this block of code. You save your program, you know, a couple of lines, and it'll keep on running. It'll skip this block of code and keep on running. So that's called the decision structure. Whereas if it's going line by line, it's called the sequence structure. So that's the if clause, if that's not too confusing. So we can also use relational operators. Relational operators determine a specific relationship between 2 values. So we've just used a relational operator here inside the expression, inside the if clause. If clause, expression, relational operator. Relational operator right here. We can also use others like less than or equal to. We can also use greater than or equal to. We can also use, if you want to say if red is equal to 20, you have to do a double equal. So double equal right here. And the reason being is that this double equal is actually called a equality operator, and this one up here is called an assignment operator, which I've said a lot out of habit. So what this is doing is you're assigning the value 50 to the local variable named red in memory, okay? And then down here it sees that it's a double equal sign. So now it literally means if red is equal to 20, run this block of code, which it won't run because this expression will return false. Okay? So remember, if it's a double equal sign, it literally means equal. If it's a single equal sign, it means that you're assigning a value to a variable. Okay? If I did a single equal sign here, it will hopefully, it'll give me an invalid syntax, because what I'm trying to say is red assignment operator 20. That's not what you should do. What you're trying to say is if red is equal to 20, run this block of code if this expression returns true. So And then finally, we have red. If red does not equal to 20, print this block of code. You can just do the exclamation point. Do the exclamation point, equal sign, and then 20. So what this reads as, if red does not equal to 20, run this block of code if this expression returns true, which it does, because 50 does not equal to 20. It will run the block of code because this expression is true. And that's it for relational operators. So the relational operators are greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to with the double equal sign. Equal to, and then not equal to, like you saw before. I use the exclamation point here. So those are the relational operators. This is called the assignment operator right here, because you're assigning the value 50 to the variable red in memory. This is a relational operator. And that's it. So that's it for the if clause. Now we're going to add a else clause. So let me just flip this thing over and make a lot of noise doing that. Okay. So we're going to do the if else statement. So if you can do control, if I'm going to do that, yeah, control A, then backspace. So control A highlights the whole program, and then you backspace, and then you get out of that. So we're going to write in a new source code. So I'll do that real quick. So we're going to do blue equal to, or assignment operator 30. Now we're going to do an if clause. So if blue relational operator 20, make sure you put the colon after the if clause. So now it knows that you're going into the block of code. So now you're in the block of code. Print parentheses blue area period. And then now we're going to do something new. We're going to use the else clause. So else colon so that you know, or the program knows, you're going into the block of code. Print parentheses single quote no color area period. Go to file, save, and that's it. So so what happened before, if I just use the if clause and I didn't have the else right here, this expression, if it returns false, it'll just get out of this block of code and won't run the block of code, and it'll continue on running like you saw before. But this is special now. If blue is greater than 20, which is true, it'll print the blue area. Yeah, blue area. But if I use a different relational operator, like less than, so it'll evaluate to false, it will now go to the else. If this expression returns false, it will automatically go to the else clause if it exists down here. And so let's see what happens. It'll go to no color area right here. So one more thing before I go. I want to explain the indentation. So as you go into the block right here, like I've been talking about, you have to indent it. So usually what I like to do is I like to press tab in order to indent, so the program knows that this is a block of code under the if clause. This is a block of code under the else clause here. You can also do, instead of tab, you can do single space right here, and then you go to file, save, and it'll still run. So you need at least a single space or more, and it should run. See, no color area still works. So indentation, it can be any number of spaces, but there are two rules to this when using the if and else clause. Make sure that the if clause and else clause are aligned. So that you have to make sure that this one and this one are aligned to each other. So the if clause can't be out here, and the else clause can't be lined up, or it should return an error. Yeah, unexpected indentation. Make sure you line them up together. So now we have them lined up. And finally, number 2, make sure the if and else block are indented. So obviously the if and else block are indented, but the real question is, and I don't know this, is if I can actually change this to be a different indentation from the if block. So let's see if it works. Yeah, so you can do that. So the block in the if clause and the block in the else clause, this one and this one, do not have to be lined up. The only thing that has to be lined up is the if clause and the else clause here. You still have to put, in the block, you still have to indent it at least one space, which I did right here. And obviously right here I've indented it more than one space, and it still works. But in any block, even in a function, you have to at least indent it by one space, and they have to line up. Okay? So if I did another one, I have to line it up here. Print hello. It has to line up here as well. The block, all the statements in the block have to line up as well. You can't do it like this, I think. Unindent does not match any outer indentation level. If you wanted this statement to be outside the else clause, you have to bring it all the way back, okay, to line up with this local variable. So now it knows that this statement is not within the block of the else clause. So if we run the program, it'll still work, but this is outside the block. Okay, I hope that makes sense. When I first did this, this was somewhat confusing, and it's just something that you have to get used to. So, and definitely you will get used to this, because I will go back to this like I did with the function prior to this. So yeah, that's it with the if and else clause. You've learned about the expression here. You've learned about relational operators, the different relational operators. And make sure to put the colon at the end so the program knows that you're going into a block of code. Block of code here, block of code here. This isn't in a block of code. And one more thing before I go. Relational operators. I've talked about operators. So what an operator is a sign in between two values. So what is this value? This value is actually called an operand. This value is called an operand. This sign is called an operator. Operator, operand, operand. You can remember this by thinking operand. It's at the end here. It's at the outside, it's at the end right here. So operand here, operand here. The operator is here. You'll probably hear that a lot. So, and that's it. That's it with the if and else clause. And you can do a lot of decision-making programming with these clauses here and here. So, and that's it. I'll see you in the next tutorial.